So, I'd just like to start if you can please just introduce yourselves and a little intro to your project in the Now Festival.
I'm Nick Duran, and I work with Jimmy James, and our collective is NICK+JAMES, and we're showing a work called Lake, which we started working on in November 2011.
And it says that this is an ongoing work. Where does Right Now and the New Original Works Festival fit into the timeline of the process?
Well, it's probably the end of this piece.
We're literally falling apart.
I think we're killing it at the end of the piece, literally.
Every time we do it, the ending of the dance, the performance is different.
And this time,
there is a death.
We're gonna die. We've been working on a new piece. Kind of overlapping the end of this piece of Lake, and so I think it's an ongoing working process.
Right.
We are.
Yeah, it's just like one work. It's the same process, really, but it's sort of taken a different shape now that this one thing is more set. The other thing that's unset gets, more attention and then starts to develop into a new, and so we just shed the past work, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about your work together and
That's
the
right.
other people that you've worked with?
Yeah, it is in a way, because Jimmy and I met dancing together with Neil Greenberg, a choreographer based in New York City, and he documents himself improvising and then relearns that material verbatim. He also videotapes his dancers now, and we were in the first or second project where he did that. I think the second, because Quartet for Three Gay Men was the
Had a
first.
little bit of that, right?
Had a little, and we were in the first project that had a lot of it. And so the process of relearning one's material from a video document is grueling and tedious, but the end result is quite fruitful. You get a lot of dimension and individuality and things revealed in the movement that you probably couldn't concoct on your own, like building phrase material with a certain self-consciousness.
Yeah, there's source material, and then it's really fascinating going back to it all of the time, because you really do end up seeing it differently every single day. It's kind of amazing, the new things that you see, the layers. At first it just looks like a big jumbled mess, and then you start to learn it, and then you start to see certain things moving, and you think it's the head moving, and then you realize, no, actually the head isn't bobbing up and down, it's actually just the hair. And so how do you do that? How do you recreate that? And
specificity.
and just refining this movement.
But we didn't do that.
No.
We didn't do that at all, because Jimmy said she didn't want to do that. And I actually thought it would be a nice way in, since we were both trained in that way, we knew that we could probably do it, but she said no, which, provided a really necessary limitation.
I also just want to add that we came to REDCAT with Neil Greenberg in 2009.
That's right. Yeah, I think something like that. So
and we neither of us lived here.
We didn't live in Los Angeles at the time. We were maybe slightly enamored with it then.
I moved here shortly after.
And then I followed.
And
we left Neil behind. He came out here.
Neil was out here. Neil was living out here as well. He was teaching and back and forth. But anyway, Neil's back in New York now, But
we didn't actually adopt his methodology for creating this piece. Instead, because of the limitation of not videotaping or relying on any document, we had to then build phrase material in a traditional way, or find the source material within ourselves without having to build it. So I saw that as the more interesting option, at least to me, because I hate building phrase material. I really hate it. I feel like I'm terrible at it, and I feel like everything I make just looks kind of puppeteering or something. It looks really weird. So I just started remembering phrases that were stored in my body, phrases that I had learned throughout my career, and then trying to teach those to Jimmy, and then Jimmy bringing some of her own, and then we would apply layers and layers of different processing to that material. So it'd be like, okay, now do this phrase that you remember from Trisha Brown, but not that I danced with her, but I did do some of her work in college. I would have loved to dance with Trisha. So nice. But anyways,
it feels so good. But
you'd have to do it, but like do it like only from your organs, or
or we'd have like bag of bones, or
bag of bones,
shake and bake. Or...
We had these weird names for the processes as well. So we would put everything through that and sort of macerate it, or like mix it up in such a way that it was hardly recognizable anymore. But I hope that what surfaces is maybe even on a subconscious level some of what that original material was, or what it came from, who those people might be, what they represent, and a certain, lineage of. And
then the other thing that we did was actively not use the video, in as a tool in our process. So we didn't videotape ourselves
even
in the
still,
rehearsal. We've been
doing it for a while.
Yeah, we've been doing this.
Every decision, we don't even watch each other. Every decision has got to be felt. So.
Yeah, we really
So it's a very somatic process.
I'm fascinated by being a typically movement-oriented person. Which is something I want to change, but obviously that's a huge thing.
Yeah, come take class.
Yeah, Nick, take company class.
I will talk to you soon. This idea of movement stored in people's bodies is fascinating to me. How do you see that manifest in life?
Well, I see that in a lot of things. We're conditioned to move in certain ways from childhood. So like there are movements that are natural and developmental, but then there are also posturings and movements that are taught to you because that's society. It's acceptable. It's proper. It's efficient, or it's elegant, or it's there's a whole range, especially when you start as a young dancer, like Jimmy.
Both of us.
But that's right. I started with in a musical theater, and there's a certain way that you are conditioned to behave, to carry yourself. And so, I think that's built into our gestures, the way we carry our bodies, and our memory of movements. But then also, we work really hard to memorize this material throughout our schooling and our careers, and a lot of it stays, which I don't... even if you don't want to hold on to it, you might remember some phrase that you were just you just practiced forever.
Well, there's also, your muscles get formed in a certain way, and I really think that there are emotions and memories and, dance or phrase material, and also just life stories stored in your muscles, and when you actively use them, they connect in these certain ways, and you get these certain flashes of, this was all of a sudden you'll be doing something, and you'll be almost transported to,
and I think there is memory. Some conjuring going on, even in our performance, which is why we get responses like George yesterday said that it was Wiccan, slightly witchy. I think that there is something about here's the material, this is where it comes from, and then what it's going to bring out might be different each time, or it might appear, for the person watching differently. Everyone's going to have their own sort of response.
There's also this mirroring process that humans do, just very innately, where you just mimic. It's a mirroring, mimicking.
Right. And we...
instinct, and it is to learn movements and to learn how to do things, how, just how to be part of a community or a society, or, you do it in this intuitive way, maybe it's not necessarily subconscious, but lately I've really been catching myself, you sit around with a group of dancers on the floor usually, And you constantly end up in these mirrored positions, you know, like your legs are crossed the same way and your hands crossed the same way. And without even, you know, all of a sudden you see it. And it's just like, it's kind of crazy how fast that happens, how frequently that happens, and if you're actually aware of it. And so that's also something that was brought into this dance because it is a duet. And we were, Nick was interested in the myth of
Narcissus. Just because of the limitation where Jimmy said, okay, we're not going to work with video and learn each other's material that way. It's going to, basically it started from me. So then I was basically teaching her my material. It wasn't even my material, it was material that I remembered to a certain extent. So it just seemed like kind of a narcissistic procedure. And then just that how we kind of look alike and we're mirroring one another in a certain way. This narrative of Narcissus emerged, and I just let it surface.
Surfaces time and time again.
I'm thankful that Jimmy let it surface as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is wonderful. And Nick and James and Lake, which actually I'll hear about off camera. The title, it's wonderful. And part of REDCAT's Now Festival opening Thursday.